from San Pedro and having the opportunity to serve my community as an elementary school principal at Leland was just a blessing. And one of the things they tell you is when you become a principal is you go into your school and you look at your community, you see who you're serving. I quickly realized that at Leland I had 22% of my student population were military, and it was very eye-opening for me because I grew up from a military family, and I used to go to Fort Mac and to the base, the Navy base in Long Beach, but I think a lot of us forget that we actually have 3 bases, in San Pedro, and all of the students that are based at Fort MacArthur, the home school is Leland, and so that's how we ended up having so many military-connected students. And so I quickly had to figure out what we can do to support them. A lot of movement. They're protected by a lot of the same laws that a lot of our other students, foster homeless, are protected by continuous enrollment. Funny story, the only phone at my school when I got there that could call long distance was the fax machine. So I immediately had to have all of my phones call long distance because we had families checking in from Virginia. And the other thing is when they had a permanent change of station, it could be any time in the year. They don't operate on a September to June calendar. So we would get constant enrollment of our military students. And I worked with my PSW psychiatric social worker at the time, and I said, we need to do something for these kids. A lot of them lived on the base together, but they didn't even know that they lived on the base together. So we started holding monthly military roll call meetings we had that were led by myself and my social worker. And just the students' faces would light up because they'd say, wait a minute, I live on the base too, and we're in the same class together. So we were making these connections for these students from their community on the base and their community in school. And I got really active with the base and with LA Air Force Base and the school liaison, and just started seeing what resources were out there for our military students to make sure that they were having what they needed when their family members were deployed. And another really interesting thing about Leland and the base is that all branches of the military are there. Because it's a mixed joint. It used to be Army, but now it's, it can even be governmental contract workers that are there. So we have this very, very eclectic group of students at Leland, and so I wanted to make sure that their needs were met. That evolved into our very large April month of the military assembly meetings, where I would have like the city attorney Mike Fuhr would come and speak. He was a keynote once. Nanette Berrigan, Congresswoman, was there once for me to speak and share their stories and support for these military students. And it was great because we were celebrating the military student. We were recognizing that they are putting in a sacrifice just like the men and women that are serving our country. And for all of the work that we did with that, my social worker and I ended up being recognized by Supervisor Janice Hahn and received commendations at the Board of Supervisors for the work that we did to make sure that our military students here in San Pedro were getting the services and the support that they needed.